Tonight, a sad end to the search for Brian Lush, and a mother on the North Coast is grieving. She believes her 14-year-old daughter's death could have been prevented.
If the cuts on her arms weren't enough for them to know that my daughter was screaming out for help, and she couldn't use her voice.
The mother of Darcel Lid is vowing to be that voice. Why she says her family struggled to find adequate care in Labrador.
The provincial government has given the Newfoundland and Labrador Dairy Co-op a $10 million loan.
You know, it's not like promoting your old home product, right?
We're going to tell you why. That story is coming up on Here and Now.
It's that time of year again. The International Fly Fishing Festival is here in St. John's on Thursday. It's one of those signs that summer can't be far away. I'll have more later in the show.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Our top story tonight, a family from Nain is mourning the loss of 14-year-old Darcel Lid. The middle schooler was taken off life support late last month after another suicide attempt. Her mother says the young girl cried out for help but never got the medical support she needed. Tonight, her mother is speaking publicly about gaps she sees in the system for people on Labrador's North Coast. Ariana Kelland brings us that story, but first a warning: the story does contain details of suicide.
14-year-old Darcel Lid was smart. She taught herself how to play the piano and guitar and was learning 6 different languages. Lid was also hurting.
Darcel was really quiet, but she was really loud when you see her. And if you seen my daughter, you would say, yes, I can hear her, even in her smile. Even her smile was crying out for help.
Miriam Lid says her daughter wore her pain in her smile and her skin. 2 years ago, something traumatic happened to Darcel. Her mother says she watched as her bright, intelligent daughter slid into despair, repeatedly attempting suicide and each time calling the police and helplines after she did.
I know she didn't want to leave. I know she didn't want to leave me. I know she didn't want to leave her little nephew, Cole. And she knew how hurt I was every time when I took her to the clinic.
Miriam Lid says she took her daughter to the clinic in Nain many times and also sent her out to Goose Bay. But she says healthcare workers never diagnosed Darcel, gave her a treatment plan or any inpatient programming.
My daughter was screaming for help, and you can see it on her body. Sometimes you got to put your profession aside and talk to her without her speaking. One of the questions that was asked to me and Darcel numerous times, are you okay? Do you feel like you can go home? And Darcel's answer was yes. And when somebody asks you, are you okay? Your first response is, I'm fine, I'm okay. Obviously, when we're not okay, that's what we say is, like when I first met you, how are you doing, Miriam? You know what I said, I'm okay. I'm not. I just lost my daughter.
Recently, Lid made arrangements for out-of-province inpatient help, something she says should have been provided by the health authority. It was all too late. Darcel Lid made her final suicide attempt several weeks ago, and after a week on life support, her family was forced to pull the plug.
I did have time with my daughter by myself and told her, you know, we almost made it.
The Honourable the Member, Torrington Mountains.
On the floor of the House of Assembly this sitting, Leila Evans zeroed in on what Labrador, with higher suicide rates than both the island and country, needs.
Now I have a 14-year-old child on life support, and her mother tells me that this child has been failed by the mental health care system. So I rephrase, Minister, how many people must die before people can access adequate mental health care in my district?
There is much more work to be done. We recognise that, which is why we put an all-party committee in place, Mr. Speaker. There's significant money again in this year's budget to carry on work of mental health and addictions.
NL Health Services wouldn't comment on this specific case, but did offer condolences to the family. A spokesperson says they offer treatment, assessments, and referrals. It's all too late now for Darcel Lid. Her funeral was held this weekend.
She wasn't using her voice, and I was her voice. And I'm not going to stop until something's done with mental health.
Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, police in Ontario have found the body of missing truck driver Brian Lush. Lush, who is from Stephenville, the Stephenville area, disappeared from a truck stop in Somerstown in southern Ontario. The search for him started on April 24th. The Ontario Provincial Police says it does not suspect foul play. In other news, Doug Snellgrove is no longer a member of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. Media Relations Officer James Cadigan confirmed his departure by email this morning. Snellgrove was convicted of sexual assault in 2021, but maintained his position as constable through his appeals and 2 other trials. Cadigan wouldn't provide details on how or why Snellgrove is no longer with the RNC. However, the RNC couldn't start internal disciplinary proceedings against him until the criminal matters were concluded. The Supreme Court of Canada rejected his bid for a retrial in February, opening the door to those internal proceedings. Well, a fire investigator is looking into a fatal house fire on Bell Island. It happened just before midnight Sunday at a home there. Emergency crews found a woman in her 60s inside, and she died at the hospital on Bell Island. Well, John Abbott says a propane fire was the final straw for Tent City. The Minister of Infrastructure says the St. John's homeless encampment was no longer a safe environment. On Friday, tents were dismantled by government workers and people were relocated to a number of places like apartments, the former Airport Inn, and emergency shelters. But Abbott told our CBC radio colleagues this morning that protest organizers created roadblocks along the way.
The thing that was concerning me, my colleagues in government, the community at large, was the issue around safety. And broadly defined, includes the physical safety of the individuals that were camping there, their mental health and well-being. There were a lot of behaviors and activities at the site that were really not conducive to helping people move and to better accommodation. But the final event, I guess, was when there was a fire with a propane tank. So that really galvanized us to say, look, we really have to address this and how best to do that. The protest organizers, no, they did not agree. They've never agreed with anything we were doing. They were quite content to leave the status quo. We weren't. So we decided that, and as the whole approach here was to deal with the individual in the tent. That was our focus, not the organizers, not the supporters. Those, and that's where we focused our efforts. And when we were there over last week and before, is to ask them what is it they wanted, where would they be most comfortable, and then make sure we could put that in place. There were propane tanks in tents over the winter, and it was not safe, and that we knew in other jurisdictions what had happened. So we were keeping a very close eye on things from my perspective. But to your point, it was not safe. There were behaviors down there not safe. Drugs were being brought in. Alcohol was being brought in. Those kinds of things was not conducive for people to make decisions to allow them to really, I guess from my perspective, assess what were the appropriate options for them. From apartments to supportive living arrangements to some at the hotel at 106 Airport Road. Some would still be in shelters, and we will be working and continue to work on making sure we have long-term living arrangements for them. That is the focus, and that's where Minister Hutton and his staff are focused every hour of every day.
Well, a new airline made its first flights today out of St. John's. Passengers boarded Flair Airlines for the company's first flight from St. John's to Toronto, and also a new route for the airport to Kitchener-Waterloo. Over the course of the month, Flair will increase the frequency of its service on the route. The two airports are only about an hour drive apart, but Flair says those airports serve different markets.
Kitchener-Waterloo really has its own core catchment of about 500,600,000 people, serving Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph and Cambridge, and then Toronto is more focused on the downtown market. But Kitchener-Waterloo is a great low-cost airport. We love serving it, so we see the two as complementary.
Here's another sign of spring. The first cruise ship of the season docked in St. John's Harbour yesterday. The crew and passengers are now on their way towards Cork in Ireland before heading to Channel Islands and eventually Germany. Too bad they couldn't have docked today, though. They certainly would have had much better weather, greeted by some sunshine and much warmer temperatures. It was certainly sunny earlier today. The clouds have now moved in as you take a live shot of the harbor there. No cruise ships just yet, but there's a few more on the way this month. But right now we're sitting at about 12 degrees. We topped out, I think it's 16 this afternoon in St. John's. Much different story than the 2 degrees that we saw yesterday. The reason for that is those winds, westerlies, 20 to as much as 30 kilometers per hour at the moment, and visibility is much better as well. Now, it wasn't lovely everywhere across the province today. We've had lots of showers roll through, just edging in towards the Avalon at the moment, expecting those showers to continue to march east as we head through the next couple of hours, with the chance of showers really across the board this evening. But yes, that invisibility, the visibility is much better than it has been, except now we are seeing some fog on the west coast of the island, Stephenville down to about 1.6 kilometers there, and expecting some more fog on the south coast. We'll talk all about that when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, people who took part in a walk around the lake are hoping it will spark more conversations about perinatal mental health. The third annual Flora's Walk kicked off on Saturday in St. John's. It's dedicated to the memory of a new mother who died by suicide. Organizers say growing families in this province are more likely to experience mental health issues compared to the rest of Canada.
We're here for the third annual Flora's Walk for Perinatal Mental Health, which is a national initiative to raise funds and awareness to support the advancement of perinatal mental health care across the country. Perinatal mental illness can encompass a wide realm of things: anxiety, depression, psychosis, OCD, and many other illnesses as well. It's fairly prevalent. The estimated number is that 1 in 4 growing families in the province will be affected by perinatal mental illness at some point. That is higher than the national average prevalence, which is 1 in 5. And in addition to that, it's a very underreported and underrecognized condition, or set of conditions, I should say. So it's estimated that the actual statistic in this province is much higher. I think one of the biggest gaps right now is lack of a universal screening protocol for perinatal mental illness at healthcare provider appointments. So that is something that we want to work towards advocating for in the future. As well, at a national level, there is a lack of guidelines for the diagnosis and treatment of perinatal mental illnesses. And so that is something that is actually being worked on at the national level now and is supposed to come down the pipeline later in 2024.
I was able to do the very first walk in Barrie, Ontario. That is where actually I used to live. I was able to help run and organize the walk, and at the time I was actually in my my postpartum period with my daughter. When she was born, it first started off that I felt like I didn't have a daughter, which kind of sounds odd, but that's how it started off. I knew that I had a little girl, but I never felt that she was actually mine. That was kind of the very first telltale sign. I knew something was not right and that I needed to seek help. At that point, I was just medicated. There was nothing else to it. I really had to kind of work through it and tell myself that the things that were going on in my head were not true and were not normal. I definitely feel that it's necessary to talk about it, spreading the awareness. You know, we're all here to support one another. Postpartum period is so difficult, and I think that we should just kind of come together as one and support one another to get through it.
The historic Our Lady of Mercy Church in Port-au-Port is in a national competition to save the building. It's called the Next Great Save, and it's a national competition that helps groups protect their heritage buildings. The church is nearly 100 years old and could use the big reward money, and right now it's in first place in the competition.
This is a marvelous, spectacular structure. Inside, it's like it wraps you in a golden embrace with all the beautiful rich wood and light that come from the stained glass windows. Hi, my name is Joanne Rose. I'm a board member on Our Lady of Mercy Complex Committee. So we are in Our Lady of Mercy Heritage Church. It's had heritage designation since 1997. For the last 30 years, it's been preserved and maintained by a community organization or group. And for the last 2 years, it's been owned by our community organization and group. Outside, it's a little bit showing its age. In 2025, it'll be 100 years old. So she's a little weathered and a little torn outside. We've been starting some repairs, but we still have lots of work to do, and she sure needs a new coat of paint. If we win, which would be $50,000 for first prize, $10,000 for second, $5,000 for third, the money would certainly go a long ways towards helping us finish some of the individual projects that we feel we need to do as part of the repair. The community support is amazing. When you're outside the church, you will see people drive by on a daily basis, numerous people, just to see what we're doing and how things are progressing, to admire the area. But when you see what we're getting online in the social media, we're having people who have generations of commitment to this area. So you can meet a person who says, my grandfather worked on this church. My uncle did the staining of the walls. I got married there, in the 1960s. And it's so wonderful to see that connection that people have to this site.
Hi, my name is Lynn McDonald. I am one of the board members on this lovely Our Lady of Mercy Church complex. Well, this is where I grew up. I attended this church. I came to weekly masses and sat in the pew with my grandparents. Speaking of my grandparents, my grandfather was one of the builders, right? He worked at the mine in Agathuna, and every year in the years that this church was built, every person took a week's labor and donated it. Instead of working at their job, they worked here at the church. Anyone who's going on approaching their 100th birthday needs a little bit of TLC, and that's what this building needs right now. A few boards, a bit of paint, and the structure's good, the structure's sound, right? But there are a few things that need a little bit of updating. People marvel at two things: the talent of the local people who sing and perform in this building, and the place that it's housed, how beautiful this place is.
Well, 19 local dairy farms want to see mainland jobs move back to the province. The group has banded together to create a new co-op. And as Here and Now's Heather Gillis reports, those farmers are in the middle of buying Central Dairies back from a Quebec-owned company.
This is Felicia and her day-old calf. She's one of about 275 Holsteins here at Pondview Farms in the Goulds, where 185 cows are milked every day. That milk will soon be managed and sold by the newly formed Newfoundland and Labrador Dairy Co-op. Fourth-generation farmer Crosby Williams is a founding member. He says the co-op is fully owned and operated by farmers on the island.
There's 19 farmers that are directly invested in this co-op, right from the west coast to the east coast. And we got there'll be a management team here now that are going to be hired, and it's going to be 12 to 15 jobs in the dairy over here as opposed to some of the jobs were on the mainland at one time.
The co-op agreed to buy the Central Dairies brand and its production facility from Quebec-based Agripreur in December. Williams can't say how much the sale will cost, but today the co-op got a loan from the province to help.
The provincial government is pleased to be a part of it by providing a $10 million loan to support the co-op's purchase of the Central Dairies.
Hector Williams, no relation to Crosby, was a dairy farmer for about 50 years. He says the idea for a co-op has been around for decades and that the move was long overdue.
Well, we're going to have more security of our milk and getting rid of our milk, and we'll get more milk, other products, and we'll get more milk on the shelves and promote it better. It's nothing like promoting your old home product, right?
Scott Antle is the co-op's new president and chief administrative officer. He says existing Agriper employees have been offered jobs while other positions are being created in the province.
So we're glad to bring those back to Newfoundland and Labrador. About a dozen new employees in in the administrative functions, the management team, finance, HR, those sorts of things.
Once the sale is complete, he says they'll have increased supply and create new products from locally made milk. Meanwhile, Antle says the sale of Central Dairies to the new co-op should be done by the middle of this summer. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the 5th annual International Fly Fishing Film Festival is set to launch later this week. It features short docs about some of the world's greatest angling destinations, all the way from southern Argentina to northern Quebec. Here and Now's Mark Quinn caught up with one of the organizers.
This is definitely not Newfoundland and Labrador, but these are some of the places you can visit on the big screen, thanks to the Fly Fishing Festival that's coming to this province again.
All the way down to the Amazon.
The Rotary Club's Terry Reardon is one of the people who's helping make it happen.
Really, really nice. It takes you on a vacation around the world. You don't have to be a fly fisherman to enjoy it.
But if you are an angler, there's plenty of eye candy. Some of the locations and fish will look familiar, but maybe bigger than the ones you've caught.
4 to 5 pound brookies, and the action is just spectacular.
The angling community is changing. It's not just old dudes anymore.
It's interesting, and it's kind of cool to be able to get more people involved and included in the sport.
This event is one of the Rotary Club of St. John's East's annual fundraisers, and the money it collects will be cast right back into the community.
100% of those proceeds are spent supporting local charities around the city. We do a lot of work with Bridges of Hope, Choices for Youth, The Gathering Place, Bishop Abraham School.
This is where it's all going to happen. 9 short films from all over the world on Thursday night. The doors open at 6 here at the Bruno Centre, and the films start showing at 7. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Cheney, beautiful feeds of Brown, goes around Boyd. What a fine coup on the night. Bounce pass down low to Jonkum. Pretty footwork, Monty Cheney.
The Newfoundland Rogues dropped 2 games to the KW Titans in Kitchener, Ontario. The back-to-back losses mean the Rogues are now down 2 games in the best-of-5 playoff series. The good news, though, the team is heading home. Game 3 goes Friday night at the Mary Brown Centre. It's a win or stay home situation. A loss will bring the Rogues season to an end. Well, Eastbound Park in Avondale is marking its 10th anniversary in style. The Speedway is bringing in a monster truck rally this summer. Some of the biggest names in the monster truck world will be there July 19th to the 21st. And in case you're wondering, these trucks are 10,000 pounds and 12 feet high, driving on 66-inch tires.
Being Newfoundlanders, we were into the fray a full week before Canadians. September 3rd, 1939, the Dominion of Newfoundland declared war on the might of Germany, and the last of our lads didn't come home until pretty near 1946. So we're first in, the last out.
Well, coming up, we head to Brigus, where the Battle of the Atlantic is being remembered.
Oh, we enjoyed some sunshine today for parts of the province. There's some showers working their way across the island, some colder air up across Labrador as well. That means some snow. I'm going to into all the details coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The early bird prize deadline is midnight Friday, May 10th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ashley, quite a dramatic turnaround in the weather today. All the sunshine and warmth out there. It was glorious.
It certainly was. Yeah, I think we reached 2 degrees yesterday in St. John's. Very different story today. Lots of people, I think everybody was out this afternoon enjoying that nice weather. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. So the reason why we're seeing finally some of this nice weather is we've seen a shift in the winds. More of a southerly flow that allows some of that milder air to move in, but that does mean that areas along the south coast of the island are seeing that rain, or rather the cooler temperatures thanks to onshore flow. So what we've got is a couple of areas of low pressure and a cold front associated with that. See the colder air definitely on the north side or the west side of this front at the moment, and we are going to see some of that. We are seeing some of that colder air, and that is going to play a role in the type of weather that we see in Labrador. In fact, some snow is certainly possible. So temperatures today topped out around 12 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Yesterday, it was 20 degrees. Still single digits, though, towards the coast. Lab City sitting at 7 degrees today as well. And then temperatures across the island. You are in that offshore flow. Your temperatures were in the teens today, 15, 16 degrees. It was the warmest temperatures. And then you've got Port aux Basques, Burgeo, St. Pierre even seeing those temperatures into the single digits just barely. Now we're down a couple of degrees there, 12 degrees in St. John's, 4 in Port aux Basques right now. Corner Brook sitting around 6 degrees. And then similar temperatures still from your daytime highs up across Lab City at about 7 degrees at the moment. So what we've got going on right now, some showers on the west coast of the island, some heavier showers working their way towards the Avalon at the moment, just barely making it there to the southwest. So these are going to continue to march east as we head through tonight, with showers really for the next couple of hours for the eastern portion of the island. We should actually see some those showers end by midnight through central. Still some onshore showers certainly possible for the west coast of the island, but we do have some flurry activity possible. This is where all that cold air is. So we're still looking at that potential for Lab West staying as showers. It should be for central areas of Labrador tonight. As far as the rainfall is concerned, it won't be too much. Trace to 5 millimeters will be max, except for the northern peninsula. Some of you could be seeing about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. Overnight tonight, temperatures will dip between 2 and about 5 degrees with those winds still southwesterly. Light though, 15 to 20 kilometers per hour max. And there's that chance of some flurries because your temperatures will dip about -1 to -2 for Lab West and the north. So tomorrow we'll see some showers work their way again, another round for the west. So generally cloudy pretty much across the board tomorrow. Now as we head into the afternoon, we may see some peaks of the sun for the south coast through areas of central as well. But overall, it won't be a clearing trend. You just may see some sun. Northern Peninsula going to hang on to that chance of showers as well, maybe this coast, south coast of Labrador as well. But hanging on to that potential for some snow for northern portions of Labrador and the west as our temperatures or your temperatures stay quite chilly through tomorrow afternoon. And then we've got some more showers. So an area of low pressure sinking south. It is going to keep the weather quite unsettled over the next couple of days. Daytime highs tomorrow anywhere from 8 to 10 degrees. Those winds out of the southeast, hence that drop in temperatures. Then we've got, as we head towards central and the south coast, 10 to about 12 degrees through the day. The warmest temperatures look like they'll be in the interior or around the Humber Valley, around 14 degrees. Corner Brook around 12. Your winds out of the southwest around 15 to 25 kilometers per hour. So some of you may actually see your temperatures climb into the teens tomorrow afternoon. Now, northern peninsula, single digits, same thing for Cartwright. You'll probably see some sun at times tomorrow afternoon. And as you head towards the west, temperatures much cooler, but you should hover around 10 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay. We'll talk about the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, yesterday was the first Sunday in May, a time to commemorate the Battle of the Atlantic, which was the longest battle of the Second World War. In Brigus, that involved a parade and a ceremony to honor those who fought in the battle.
Being Newfoundlanders, we were into the fray a full week before Canadians. September 3rd, 1939, the Dominion of Newfoundland declared war on the might of Germany, and the last of our lads didn't come home until pretty near 1946. So we're first in, the last out. And as Newfoundlanders, we contributed more per capita than any other Dominion in the Empire. In other words, 3,000 Newfoundlanders joined His Britannic Majesty's Royal Navy to fight the enemy, and another 10,000 joined the British Merchant Navy. So Brigus, being such an historic town, a seafaring town, imbued with a whole bunch of history and seafaring history at that, seems the natural place to do it. And besides, it's always better in Brigus. We always say we're lucky to be Canadians, we're lucky to live in Canada, and I don't think luck has anything to do with it. We fought for this, or our forefathers fought for this. So the importance of it is that if we don't remember, we're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. But more so, Newfoundlanders gave so much of their treasure and their blood to preserve our freedoms and to advance our democracy. Here in Brigus, our theme has always been to involve as many youth as possible. Not only the Navy League Cadet Corps, the Sea Cadet Corps, Army Cadets, Air Cadets, youth choirs, the Girl Guides, the Embers. We try to get the youth involved in order to pass on the message of the importance of remembering, and of course to make sure that there's someone around to still do it when all us old guys have passed. I think there's 150 on parade today, about 40 Legionnaires, and the rest are all under the age of 18. So that's absolutely fantastic. We're so happy to see it, and we encourage any and all to come out every year.
It's pretty cool that we get to show our respect to all the people that were able to fight in World War II. I think it's also very important that we get to come out and just show our respect for all those people.
I believe it's very important that we show our respect, and then just seeing how many people actually came. I wasn't expecting how big it was going to be. I did this back when I first joined. It was massive, but after COVID it wasn't so often we got to come out. But then once we came and I saw how many people actually still came, it was really nice to see. I'm very happy with myself and where I've come to be, and to be the guard commander was really nice, and just to take on that role.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. You feel pretty proud to be able to go out and show your respect and be marching with former vets and stuff like that is pretty cool.
The war has been over for so long. The sacrifices made were absolutely legion. These were men and women who put their lives on hold, put their boots on, stood up and said no to tyranny. They went out and they fought for what they thought was right, and it turns out they did a pretty fine job. And if we don't remember those sacrifices made, then we're going to start to take Canada and everything it is to be a Canadian, our values, our morals, our ethics for granted. Once that happens, we start to lose it. So yeah, it's a long time ago. There's only one veteran of the Second World War, the naval service here today. And when I was a kid, there was 40, 50, 60. I know it's a long time, but sacrifice should never be forgotten. And surely a sacrifice that leads to the great fortune we have to live in this wonderful country.
Returning now to our top story, Miriam Lid says her young daughter did not want to die, but 14-year-old Darcel struggled to get the support she needed on the north coast of Labrador. Lid says repeated suicide attempts were never taken seriously. She sat down with the CBC's Ariana Kelland, and we're going to hear more of their conversation now. But first, a warning, this story does deal with self-harm and suicide.
I noticed she started going down more hill after she told me and my older sister Bensu what happened to her. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about that part, but 2 years ago, and she finally opened up to me and my sister and said, so this is what happened and I don't know what to do and it's hurting me.
With each attempt, I guess you would go to your clinic in Nain.
I went every time.
And what would happen when you went to the clinic?
So the first time they didn't really do anything, just ask her if she's okay. Maybe 3 to 4 other times we were sent to Goose Bay, Happy Valley Goose Bay, to go get counseling. I did take her to counselors at the mental health in the Goose Bay Clinic. Her appointments were about half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour. And then after that, their question is again to Darcel, how do you feel? Do you feel like you want to, or feel like you're going to harm yourself when you leave here? And Darcel would say no. And their question to Darcel also was, do you want to die? When you attempt, do you want to die? And Darcel always said no. And I was there when every time this question was asked to my daughter, do you want to die? And Darcel's response was always no. When we start going more to, when she done it again, maybe the 3rd or 4th time, we went back to Goose Bay, and even in the clinic in Nain, her arms were showing, and if the cuts on her arms weren't enough for them to know that my daughter was screaming out for help and she couldn't use her voice, she was using her arms and everything else, and she would show them. She would have a t-shirt on. So her way of screaming out for help was not with her voice, it was showing on her body. You know, when your child is going through this, you just want to be angry at everybody, even professionals, for my daughter not getting help, and yell at them and scream and shout and say, look, my daughter needs help and you guys are not doing anything. And that's what Darcel was saying with the stuff on her body. She wasn't using her voice, and I was her voice. And I'm not going to stop until something's done with mental health.
In other news, in Corner Brook yesterday, Halibu First Nation marked Red Dress Day, a national day of awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. Organizers say the dozens of people who showed up have all been touched by violence.
All of those dresses belong to women, women who were violated, who are not here to share with us today. And every time we lose a woman, a mother, a sister, a daughter, we all mourn. It's a great loss for the entire community.
Today we have a lot of community members that have come out to join us in support of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people. And the feeling is that everyone's united and everybody is strongly supporting one another and wanting to advocate for a better way forward.
You know, it's a very solemn occasion, but it's so uplifting that we come together. And when we come together, the energy that's created is healing. And so I see this as a great opportunity for healing among our people. There's not a woman in Western Newfoundland who doesn't understand violence, family violence, gender violence, in all its nasty forms. And so when we come together and shed light on that, it helps women have the courage to come forward and say, I need help, or I need support, or I'm in a bad place. So that's a good thing. Together we're stronger for sure.
We've lost too many Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. There's striking statistics that talk about how Indigenous people are more inclined or more likely to be victims of abuse and gender-based violence. We have a lot of people in our community that are battling with that today as we speak, and we have folks that have lost loved ones and that are still waiting for them to come home. And the importance of today is to raise that awareness to make sure that we do better.
Well, during Friday's funeral for Bob Cole, friends and colleagues shared some of their favorite memories of the famous broadcaster. And something that kept coming up was Cole's quirky sense of humor and his penchant for pranks.
My own memories are very personal, actually. They were actually at the tournaments, the golf tournaments, because, we'd be out there on a sunny morning in the middle of the summer, and Bob would be trying to keep everything organized and keep everybody moving, and we'd always like to play some pranks out there. So, there was one day we did a Super Dave Osborne kind of a prank out there when Bizarre was on the go with John Bonner years ago, and we dropped a dummy out of a helicopter.
And the next thing you know, one of Craig Dobbin's helicopters comes over the clubhouse and is hovering over a grove of trees not far from the putting green, and they throw out a golfer, like from way up there. And it's not actually a golfer, it's a mannequin, of course, but to us, it's a human being dressed in golf attire. Into the woods this mannequin goes, and 5 seconds later, out hightails Danny Williams, the future Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador.
That's just kind of a funny memory I have.
I just remember getting a glimpse into that gleam in his eye. That's his circle of friends. Now I know where all this is headed. And then we had, of course, our official welcomes to be screeched in, and Bob arranged for us to go on board a beautiful vessel, the Skademia. We went out to Bay Bulls, to the Bird Island Sanctuary, and we went and had a lovely little tour, and we drank our screech, and indeed I is me old cock, and long me your big jib draw, and then we kissed the cod, and then we continued to party. And as the boat was coming back to shore, we were about, 500 meters away from the shore. It was an incredible day. It was always a beautiful sunny day for the golf tournament. It never rained on Bob's tournament once. And this day was particularly hot, temperature up in the 30s, and you could see the ocean floor, clear as a bell. And I said, gee, it would sure be great to go for a dip. And Bob, oh, that's a good idea. Frickin' icebergs are flying by not far from there. But anyway, he said, go on in, Ron. We'll stop the boat. Joseph, our captain. Joseph, stop the boat right here. We're going to have a dip. Go on, Ron. Tell us how the water is. So I dive in, and I'm not going to let on, because the minute I hit the water, right, my heart skipped a beat, and I knew I was in real trouble. I was going to have hypothermia inside 30 seconds. But damn, Bob, I'm getting, I'm going to get you, Bob. So I swam out about, 15, 20 feet, and I come up out of the water, and I turn to the boat, and I says, beautiful. It's warm, it's refreshing, and right away, former NHL referee Dave Newell, God love you, Dave, he takes off his shirt. Richard Brodeur, a goaltender from the National Hockey League, he whips off his shirt. Harry Neal doffs his shirt, and they all jump in the water. And this is a real problem, because the truth is you will get hypothermia in about 2 to 3 minutes in that water. And these guys, I was able to reach the gunnel. You could kind of propel yourself up, grab the gunnel, and climb back on the boat. But those guys could not. They were a little heavy set, and we couldn't get them out of the ocean. And so we thought we were going to have 3 dead on our hands. And so luckily, we threw them a rope, and Joseph got the boat into shore, and they were able to get up on the pier and get out of the water. But it was a great, again, glimpse into how things go in Newfoundland and Labrador, and especially when Bob's around. Actually, Bob, as much as we will remember your voice, we will never forget that gleam in your eye. That's what made you special, and that's why it was such an honor for all of us at Hockey Night in Canada to need you and to know you and to love you.
Bonus.
All right, time for the long range forecast. Get to look at what's happening later in the week. I hope all of this lovely weather today is going to stick around for a bit.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
It's going to be a bit unsettled over the next couple of days. Now, it's not going to be as cold as it has been, that's for sure.
I mean, what do we expect? Is this time of year, it's going to be one of those, right?
Absolutely. This is the roller coaster. May is the roller coaster month for sure. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head into Tuesday evening and Wednesday. So we still got that area of low pressure. It's going to sink a little bit further south. Still chilly up across Labrador. Still the potential for some snow and or mixing in there, especially towards the coast. But areas like Happy Valley, Goose Bay may see some snow. Same thing for the coast. Southeastern portions, you're still in some of the warmer air, which means you're going to see some showers through the day. And same thing for the island. We're looking at shower activity through most of Wednesday. As that area of low pressure slowly departs to the east, that means we are going to see a return of that northerly flow through the afternoon, but eventually we will see some clearing. So temperatures are going to dip back down to the single digits. Marystown, you'll hover around 10 degrees, but most of the island will be seeing those single digits. That's the story up across Labrador as well, 2 to 7 degrees as your daytime highs. But again, still looking at that potential for some flurries in the mix. That will hang around through the overnight and into Thursday. Again, it will slowly depart. It will take some of that moisture with it, but we're still looking at the chance of some showers through central. Likely some sunshine for eastern areas of the island through the day on Thursday, but as you head through to the afternoon and evening hours, better chance of showers pretty much across the board for the island. And then same thing for coastal areas of Labrador. Lab West, you will clear out nicely and your temperatures will stay around 8 degrees through the day. You may see them bump up a bit more than that, but overall unsettled for central and coastal areas where you hover between 4 and 6 degrees. We will start to rebound temperature-wise. Some of us seeing the single digits, but others seeing around 10 to 11 degrees. Again, it will completely depend on where the wind is blowing in your area, but daytime highs between 6 to 11. Long-range forecast showing temperatures really somewhere between 6 and 10 degrees as our daytime highs as we head through the week. Most of the days we will see the chance of some showers. Now, it won't be a washout by any means. We'll still see some sunshine, but still that chance of some shower activity. Friday looks lovely at this point, about 8 degrees. I know that's not as warm as everybody wants it to be, but still. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at temperatures between 10 and 11 as we head into the weekend. It does look like some more showers will return Saturday night. Same thing for western Newfoundland as your daytime highs start to warm as we get towards the weekend. 15 degrees by Saturday. Really warming for eastern Labrador, 13 to 16 degrees by the time we get there, but your overnight low still quite chilly, 0 to +2. And western Labrador, nice stretch of weather there for you. Warming up to about 13 degrees by Saturday.
Oh.
Beautiful. We saw this already.
We saw this on, Gerald, right. This is from Friday.
And guess what?
It's so nice. We can see it twice.
I didn't hit save. It's kind of important when you hit the save button there.
It is a lovely shot. I would love to be walking through those woods, especially on a day like today.
Oh, yes. It'd be nice and warm. Lovely. Everybody enjoys it. Thank you for that again. I'll have a better photo. I'll have another photo rather for tomorrow for sure. But if you have any that you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
16 degrees on Sunday for eastern Labrador. That looks like it's going to be a really nice day.
It always happens when you see the sunshine in the spring up in Labrador. It is a stunning day most of the time.
Hopefully that forecast holds for the rest of the week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.